Hi there. So we're going to be looking at one other group of animals here. So we're going to talk about what is a mammal. This is a group that's pretty important for us to study because it is the group that we are a part of as human beings. So when we start talking about the qualities of a mammal, mammals are endothermic. Again, they're warm-blooded. They generate their own body heat, so these can survive in colder climates because they can keep themselves warm. They all have mammary glands, so they all produce milk to help their offspring whenever they're growing up. This also means that the offspring tend to have lips to help them with suckling the milk at those points in their life. They all have hair at some point in their lives. We usually see it covering their bodies throughout their life, but they can lose it. If we think about some mammals that appear hairless, like dolphins, they do actually have hair whenever they're first born, but they lose it as they get older. They have three middle ear bones. So again, when we start talking about beyond the ear, some of them have external ears and some of them do not. But they have very enhanced hearing because of these three middle ear bones to help with reverberation of sound. These ear bones are actually analogous to those extra jaw bones that we saw in reptiles that help them extend their mouth further wide open. So again, mammals being another evolutionary offshoot from reptile relatives, those jaw bones instead are now ear bones. And so we don't have the jaw flexibility that reptiles do. We only have a single fused jaw, but we have better hearing in exchange for that. They have a neocortex in the brain, which means they're pretty intelligent in terms of problem solving. They all go through internal fertilization. So again, the male will deposit sperm inside of the female to help with creating offspring. They all have a four-chambered heart as far as their respiration and their circulatory system goes. And they are all chordates and vertebrates. So they all have that dorsal nerve cord and they all have a backbone to protect it. So right off the bat, we look at mammals kind of in three different groups here. Monotremes, which produce eggs. Again, we don't think of most mammals producing eggs, but kind of a throwback again to their reptilian ancestry. We do see that with monotremes. We have marsupials, which produce young kind of in an early birth, like a less mature stage, which leads to development inside of a pouch. And then placental mammals. This is what most mammals fall under. They allow a fetus to gestate inside of the womb before it comes out of the birth canal, fairly developed at that point. So looking more specifically at some of our groups of mammals, again, this won't cover everything, but we'll try to cover some of the major groups of mammals. Monotremes here, monotreme means single whole. They all have cloacas, so again, just like their reptilian ancestors, they have that one opening that allows for getting rid of waste and for exchanging sex cells. This includes echidnas and platypuses. So again, these are really the only two specimens that are still left on Earth like this. They do produce eggs, and they later use pouches. Once the young hatch from the eggs, they will still develop in a pouch similar to a marsupial. They do produce milk out of the sebaceous gland, a little bit similar to a primitive mammary gland. There are only 5 species alive today, and all of them live in Australia. In a similar vein with animals that live in Australia, we think a lot about marsupials. Marsupial means pouch. They all have a pouch where their young develop. So this group includes bandicoots, kangaroos, koalas, possums, and opossums. So again, possums only live in Australia, and opossum is usually the term we use for the ones that are in the Americas. Tasmanian devils and wombats are also part of this group. They do produce milk. The nipples, again, in this case, are in the pouch where the young develop. And these are only found in Australia and the Americas, so both North and South America. In this video here, we've got one little National Geographic video if you're looking at this one on Google Classroom. So this kind of shows you what a young kangaroo has to go through whenever it comes out of the birth canal. Just a little pink, like basically like a tiny embryo, eyes not even open yet. And then mom has to lick a little pathway on her fur for that baby to crawl all the way up to the pouch, latch onto a nipple, and start to develop. It's really an incredible thing that these animals do, so that's definitely worth a watch. So looking again at another order, so this order is Insectivora, or at least you'll see that in a lot of older texts. This order is mostly referred to now as the Eulyptotyphla. So Insectivora means insect eater, and Eulyptotyphla means truly fat and blind. So again, these animals don't have the best eyesight. They do love to eat insects. This includes hedgehogs, moles, shrews, so lots of smaller mammals. They have very sharp teeth for eating insects. And this is the only group of well, I shouldn't say only, but this is one of the few groups of mammals that you are going to see venomous mammals. So some shrews and the solenodon are some of the mammals that you can find that are venomous. They do basically have venom that can trickle through the jawline. Another order here, Chiroptera. Chiroptera means hand wing. They all have membranes that extend from their fingers to make wings. So again, we see that skin there, the patagium. This includes all of our fruit bats, so ones that eat fruit, insectivorous bats, which eat insects, and sanguivorous bats, the ones that will consume blood like the vampire bat to survive. These are the only mammals capable of true flight. So similar to a bird, they're able to take off completely on their own from a resting position, and they have powered flight that, again, they use their wings for. They do not glide like many other mammals do. Our order Carnivora here, and let me move my video here really quick. I'd hate for you to miss that walrus that's there in the corner. So our order Carnivora. Carnivora means flesh eater. Many of them are carnivores, but not all of them. Notable exception would be the panda bear, or giant panda, which only eats bamboo. It is a herbivore, but most of this group does eat a lot of meat. This includes bears, cats, both big cats and small cats, dogs and other related family members to dogs, hyenas, mongooses over here, raccoons, skunks, weasels, and weasel family members like otters, seals and sea lions are part of it. They have very well developed teeth and claws, again, for helping them dispatch prey for the most part. And they have a very good sense of smell, again, for helping them discover prey to sneak up on. Another order we have here is Perissodactyla. Perissodactyla means uneven toe. They have an odd number of toes. So when you count the little nails here at the bottom, you'll find between 1 to 3. So this includes horses, which have the 1 toe, and then rhinoceroses and tapirs, which each have 3 toes when you're starting to look down there. These are animals that are mostly grazers. Most of them eat grass, and they're hindgut fermenters. They have a slightly specialized stomach, a little bit of extra compartments in the digestive tract, but certainly not as much compared to some of our Artiodactyla. So these are the ones that we see that can have more specialized stomachs. Artiodactyla means even toe. They have an even number of toes. So again, you might see 2 or in some cases maybe even 4 nails. This group includes antelopes, camels, cattle and relatives like the bison, deer, giraffes, goats, hippopotamuses, pigs, sheep. So a lot of animals that we consume as livestock fit into this group. These are mostly grazers and browsers. They tend to eat a wide variety of vegetation. Some of them eat grass exclusively, but some of them eat a wider variety of plants. Some are ruminants. So this is a highly specialized stomach. Like when we think of a cow's stomach having multiple chambers to it, that is because cows are ruminants. They have a very specialized stomach. So when you look here at this group, the Artiodactyla, there's one picture that seems to stand out there as not being like the others. And that would be our killer whales here in the corner. So what's up with that? So when we start talking about whales and dolphins, there is molecular evidence, so DNA evidence, that suggests cetaceans, so that's all of our whales and dolphins, have an evolutionary history with Artiodactyla. These are all kind of reconstructions of some of these fossil whale relatives, and we can see that transition. Their closest common ancestors are the hippopotamuses. When we look at the different fossil record members, we do see this transition from having those hoofed feet to more webbed feet and then those kind of flipper feet over time. So a more specific part here, instead of looking at an order, this is an infra-order, a little bit more specific. Don't worry about all the terminology, but this is part of Artiodactyla, the Cetacea. Cetacea means whale. They are fully aquatic mammals, so they live their entire lives in the water. This includes both dolphins and whales. They can live in either saltwater or freshwater. If we think about river dolphins, they actually do pretty well in freshwater. They're nearly hairless. Again, this is more prevalent whenever they are first born. The forelimbs have been modified into flippers to help them with swimming, and the hind limbs are not visible. They would be right about here, and there are some bony remnants, but their main propulsion comes from their tail fluke, which is truly their tail. Our super order Xenothra here, this is kind of 2 orders squished together. Xenothra means strange joints. They have vertebrae that have extra articulation, basically. So these include the orders Cingulata, all of our armadillos, and Pilosa, all the anteaters and sloths, including the giant ground sloth, which is extinct. They do have other primitive features besides the vertebrae with extra articulation. They have no incisors or canines as far as the types of teeth that they have. In fact, when you start looking at anteaters, you won't really find hardly any teeth at all. They have single color vision as opposed to our color vision, which is more complex. And they have a very low metabolic rate. So some of them have very low body temperatures. And this is part of why we talk about, especially like nine-banded armadillos, being able to carry some diseases that other mammals cannot. They have limbs that are specialized for climbing or digging. Again, very long nails on those digits. Our order Lagomorpha. Lagomorpha means hair form. So this includes hares, pikas, and rabbits. They have constantly growing incisors. So again, if you have one as a pet, they need something to chew on so that their teeth don't keep growing. They're strict herbivores, and again, they use those constantly growing teeth to shear off plant material. And they are coprophagous. When they don't get enough nutrients from the foods that they eat, they will actually eat their own poop, and that helps them to get bonus nutrients when they go through digestion again. Our order Rodentia. Rodentia means to gnaw. This is another group with constantly growing incisors. This includes things like beavers, chinchillas, chipmunks, gerbils, guinea pigs, hamsters, mice, porcupines, prairie dogs, rats, squirrels. Another thing, a lot of them are pets of ours, so again, please make sure they have stuff to chew on. They live in many different environments and have diverse diets, but again, those diets are all aided by those constantly growing teeth that can wear stuff down. Our order Primates here, primates translates to prime or first rank, and that's really because this was named by Carolus Linnaeus, a fellow human who thought, hey, primates are the most developed thing. Kind of up for debate. So this includes apes like humans, as well as gorillas. Lemurs, monkeys, tarsiers are all part of primates. They have large brains relative to their body size, and they're all social. They tend to live in groups that they communicate with each other. Our order Proboscidea. Proboscidea means proboscis, so the long extension from the head for feeding, the trunk. These are all of our elephants, which is just African and Asian elephants as far as what's alive today, but would include woolly mammoths and mastodons as far as extinct relatives. They all have trunks, large body size, tusks, which are just modified teeth. They also have marching molars further in the back, so these are constantly growing molars that help them with chewing stuff down. And then finally, the last order we're going to look at, again, this isn't all the mammal orders, but all the ones that we're going to cover, is Sirenia. Sirenia is linked to Siren. Again, these are kind of linked to the myths of mermaids. This includes dugongs and manatees, also sometimes called sea cows. They are fully aquatic and herbivorous, so they only eat sea plants. They have nearly hairless skin, especially when they have developed along, but they do have a lot of whiskers. The hind limbs, again, are absent, like in whales, and the tail fluke is present. And even though they have these features similar to whales, these are actually more closely related to elephants by comparison. They have heavy bones that act as ballast to help kind of keep them balanced out, and blubber acts as flotation to help them with moving through the waters. Our bottom example there, we don't have a lot of variety anymore. We had the stellar sea cow, but this is another one that can be linked to humans as far as a relatively early extinction during expeditions into the northern Arctic Circle. So again, I hope that this kind of helped to explain some of the diversity of mammal orders that we're looking at and what constitutes animals that are included as mammals.